I actually started my social media journey when I was 11. I knew really early on that I didn't want to take a regular path. I wanted to do something positive to impact people's lives, and I knew that I wanted to do it with people watching. My rise on social media was very quick, but there's been, ups and downs over the years. I'm not competing with anybody other than myself to continue one-upping what I've already done. There was definitely a golden age of the beauty community on YouTube, and I think it also got really toxic really quickly.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to Post-Run Walk today.
Post-Walk High,
which I kind of love.
Yeah, it's fun.
We're here with James Charles.
Hi, you guys. Hello.
I'm so excited to be sitting down with you, James. I was telling you this on our walk, guys. James and I just got back from a 1 mile walk with his dogs.
Yes.
It was beautiful.
Welcome to my home. Welcome to the neighborhood. Glad you enjoyed Finn and Theodore.
Yeah, it's so cool being at your house. I just have to really quickly say, I've grown up watching you on social media, so it really is so cool to be able to step into your home, see your house. And what I love about it, I just kept saying to James, I was like, your house is so well designed.
Thanks.
And I know design is such a big part of you and your life, so
Yeah.
It's cool to see.
Thank you. We are welcome anytime.
Yeah. How was the walk for you?
The walk was good. I mean, I'm not a big physical activity type of person. When they told me that your team had reached out about doing this, I was like, oh my God, I'm not running with her. She can't make me run. I can't do it. But I was so excited when we got to do a walk because I do love getting out and the dogs love a walk. And the weather's been so beautiful recently. So I was excited to chit chat and get a little bit of exercise in. That'll be my workout for the next 2 months.
I'm shocked that you don't work out at all.
No.
Not even Pilates?
No.
Yoga?
No.
Wow.
I've genuinely really tried because obviously I know that everyone loves it and I know obviously that it's very good for the human body.
Human body.
Well, yeah, of course. I genuinely can't get into it. And I've tried multiple times. I've tried different personal trainers. I've tried different gyms. I've tried so many different workouts. It's actually really fun. We filmed a YouTube series probably 2 years ago now where I was like, I'm going to get fit because I had gained a little bit of weight during COVID that I wanted to get rid of. So I converted my entire garage to a gym, hired a personal trainer for 2 months, cut out all fast food. What if you know me?
Yeah.
That's a big, you saw the Coke fridge.
Wait, I was going to ask you, what is your diet like?
Bad. It's disgusting.
Okay.
It's so bad, but that's fine.
My diet's not great either.
Okay, love.
But I definitely I compliment it with working out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think it, I don't know, whatever.
I don't, and I just couldn't get into it. But for 2 months, I fully cut out all soda, all fast food, and was working out 3 or 4 times a week. And not stupid little workouts. Girl, I was really going in. And by the end of the 2 months, I had gained 2 pounds. And yes, I'm aware that muscle weighs more than fat. I'm not looking for that.
Right.
I don't want to be jacked and muscular. I'm trying to be tiny and skinny and disappearing before your very eyes.
I love that.
I need this camera to zoom in so far that because I'm a little speck of dust floating around in the backyard,
I can't even see you right now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wait.
That was what I was going for.
Perfect. Well, okay. So I personally, I run because it keeps me very grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel with social media and content, our lives can be super chaotic and overwhelming. So I'm curious, for me, working out is definitely my escape and what keeps me really grounded. So what do you do to stay grounded?
Okay, I have a couple of ones that are kind of weird niche interests. Mm-hmm. I love building Legos. Mm-hmm. Love Legos. My entire office is covered in all sorts of different Lego builds. So that's a really nice way of distract myself. I'll put on a TV show, put my phone away and just build for a couple of hours. Wow. I love escape rooms. They're my favorite pastime in the entire world. And it sounds so stupid, but my life is really crazy sometimes. So it's so cheesy to say, but I do enjoy putting my phone away for an hour and pretending I really am in the Titanic and we're sinking and we have 1 hour to get out.
Wait, I love that.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
And even though it's a high stress situation, it's playing pretend. It's just fun little, it's a game, but I like turning my brain on. I like thinking and I like strategizing.
Mm-hmm.
That's genuinely fun for me. I love puzzles. I love brain teasers. So that's kind of my escape where I get to turn my phone off and be disconnected from the social media world, but still be thinking.
I love that. I feel it makes so much sense because you don't build the empire that you've built without being smart. And you can tell, I feel Legos, especially, when you're a kid growing up, you'd think that like all kids play with Legos, but it's really not true. It's like a certain type of kid plays with Legos that likes doing activities that turn their brain on and challenge them.
Yes.
So I love knowing that about you.
Well, did you grow up with Legos, or did you ever play
My
with them
older
growing
brother
up?
is very smart, and
Okay.
he was the kid in our family that like loved Legos.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's some synergy there, guys. Comment down below, let us know what you think. But I think kids playing with Legos is a sign of intelligence.
Well, I loved Legos, and I also loved, there's this like kids game that no longer exists anymore,
What?
but it was called Connects. And they were like you would build things. How do I explain it? It was different than Legos where you're like building a building, but with Connects it was like you would build like a roller coaster, or you'd build like a Ferris wheel, or you build like, I don't even really know how to explain it. I loved the amusement park rides. For some reason, that was like my special interest as a kid. And from there, like I would always build like giant roller coasters, and like that was like my interest as a kid. I wanted to like be an amusement park designer. So I've always just been very like engineering focused. My dad's a self-employed contractor as well. And I will never forget like when I lost my two front teeth. Of course, all parents have the tooth fairy. So when I lost my two front teeth, I didn't ask for money. I didn't ask for any sort of special prize. I asked for a shark vacuum. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
And my dad, for my I think it was 3rd or 4th birthday, built me it was like a wooden box with just plugs, switches, and outlets on it. None of them did anything. They were not connected to anything. Nothing was wired together. But he built the box for me because he saw that I was always watching him when he was working, like wiring electrical and like installing outlets and plugs into people's homes.
Yeah.
And I was interested in that. So I feel like that's so weird and such like a like
No, I love
as a
it.
kid. But I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to be a designer. I've always been really interested in just like figuring out how things work.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it. Are you the type of person that will get furniture and want to assemble it?
Depends on how complicated
like,
it is.
no.
Maybe not that, because like I'd rather hire a task
Yeah.
to do that instead. But if it was but
You go into James's garage and there's like a shed of
It's just-
all
it's
assembled
just-
IKEA furniture.
it's like 8 different IKEA nightstands ready for a stressful night. James is gonna take one on and ready to go. No, see, not like that. Like I would never choose to put it together.
Yeah.
However, if you were like, hi, for our podcast today, we're racing to see who can build an IKEA dresser faster, you better bet I am clocking in to that challenge.
No, I
You know?
love the competitive side of
Yeah.
you. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to kind of take us back because we're getting to know from these stories what you were kind of like as a kid.
Yeah.
But really like walk us back through your childhood. You grew up in upstate New York.
Yes.
What were you like as a kid outside of these things?
Annoying.
Okay.
I was really, really stubborn, very outgoing. My little brother and I could not have been more polar opposites. I put my poor parents through absolute hell growing up just because I knew what I wanted. I was definitely a little bit difficult as a child, but I was very smart, very outgoing, and very just like always was innovating and wanting to try something new.
Yeah.
I had a million different hobbies. I actually started like my social media journey when I was 11. I had a Twitter account back in the day. It was called That's What Kids Do. And I used to post like relatable teen quotes and tweets, like that awkward moment when blah, 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 or like that moment when your crush says blah, blah, like so stupid. But I grew that account to like 80 or 90,000 followers when I was 11.
That's insane.
And I got banned because I put my age in my Twitter bio because I was proud of being an 11-year-old with 100,000 followers. And then they're like, nope, you have to be 13, banned. So my poor mom had to like write an email to Twitter being like, hi, this account is managed by a parent, let him back on. Because I was making money from him. I was
Wow.
running Google ads on my Twitter account. And then eventually I sold that account, moved over to Tumblr, learned how to code HTML and CSS, and started designing web themes for people and for people's blogs. Then I used that money to buy my first ever DSLR camera and a MacBook, and then I made a comedy YouTube channel when I was like 13 or 14, fully made like a PowerPoint presentation for my parents as to why they should allow me to make YouTube videos, started posting the comedy videos, and then I eventually got into doing girls' hair and makeup for school, like prom and ball, then did my own makeup, and then
It's
here we
amazing.
are.
And it's so cool how you ended up like, cause you love the techie side of things too, but also you have such a creative side of you. It's so cool to see how all of these things kind of merge together.
Yeah.
And you always had such a high production quality, even when you first started out. So it's cool knowing that
Thanks.
you were really the brains behind that.
I've always been
Yeah.
really interested in that. Like for me, I said this like when we were walking earlier, but
Yeah.
I know that I'm great at what I do, but I'm never the best. I truly love my part of the job that entails learning, whether it's, how I can improve my lighting, how I can improve my video settings, how I can make a video's retention a couple of seconds higher, how I can Photoshop my thumbnails to be better. Like, I really do enjoy that part of the content creation process. I'm not competing with anybody other than myself to continue one-upping what I've already done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I find that fun. It's like a fun challenge.
Absolutely. And it's so hard. I would say, like, what would you say for people just starting out on content, including some of those things that you just mentioned, right? Because like we're just getting started in the YouTube game, and it's crazy how important thumbnails are, and it's so hard to find really good thumbnail designers. It's like honestly the hardest thing, right?
I've been doing it myself.
Really?
I only just started recently. I just started working with a guy that I found on social media.
Yeah.
But I've done my own thumbnails for the last 7 years.
Wait, James, I'm shook.
Yeah.
Your thumbnails are incredible.
Thanks.
Like I use your thumbnails as reference all the time because I'm like, this is what great looks like.
Thank you.
That's so impressive.
I learned how to use Photoshop when I was like 7 or 8 because I ran a Club Penguin blog too. That one was never successful, so I didn't include that in my story journey. But I learned how to use Photoshop because I needed to figure out how to edit the Club Penguins into like different positions.
You were such an interesting kid. I feel like you're like giving boy genius.
It was giving like loser nerd.
No,
vibes.
I
definitely not giving boy genius.
But also social and outgoing. So it seems like I feel like the smartest people kind of have every box ticked, like right where they're outgoing and social and they're also smart. So I feel like you're kind of one of those people.
I knew really early on that I didn't want to take a regular path. I wanted to be. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to do something in the public eye. I wanted to create. I wanted to inspire people. I wanted to do something positive to impact people's lives. And I knew that I wanted to do it with people watching.
Yeah.
My rise on social media was very quick, for sure. But there's been, ups and downs over the years. I had, when I started, about a year in is when I had my big break and I got my senior photos went viral when I retook my senior photos.
Wait, tell us the story behind that. Because I kept seeing that everywhere and I was like, what is the lore behind the senior year photos?
I took my photos with makeup on and the lighting was disgusting. I looked terrible. So I emailed this company being like, hi, this is crazy, but like I know how to use Photoshop. Can I either retake these photos or just like retouch them myself? And they were like, we don't care. Sure. Come back on these days. You could just pay to retake them again. I said, absolutely. You better bet I'm going to be there. So I went back, brought my ring light, retook the photos, and then retouched them myself. They let me Photoshop the pictures, posted it on social media, not even with the intention of it going viral. But one of my other content creator friends at the time was like, you should turn this into a meme. And this was like right at the, like memes weren't even like a thing yet. The memes at the time were like Nyan Cat, the stupid Pop-Tart rainbow thing. Do you remember that from like a million years ago?
No, meme culture is a world of its own.
Yeah, this was like brand new to like what memes really meant. So she was like, you should turn this into like a meme, like add a funny caption about like when you retake your photos and bring your ring light. And I was sitting there being like, that is so stupid. And she's like, just try it. So I posted it, not really thinking anything of it. And literally the next morning woke up to my email inbox being flooded with every single news outlet on planet Earth being like, hi, we need to interview about this.
Wow.
And I was like,
and that was a photo that went viral, like a meme.
Just a photo on Instagram.
With text. Wow.
That was it. That was literally it. And from there, I got noticed by CoverGirl. I signed as CoverGirl's first ever male ambassador for the brand. I did my commercial with Katy Perry. Chloe and Halle Bailey were in it at the time. It was so cool. And then I went on the Ellen show. And from there, it was like crazy.
And when you posted that photo of your senior yearbook photo online, were you already creating beauty content on the internet? Okay, so you had started kind of that journey.
Yeah, I had already been making beauty content, but I hadn't gone viral yet. There was a couple of, Instagram was just different back then. That was like when they had like the popular page.
Right.
Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember.
God, like those were the days.
Yeah.
What I would do to go back in time to 2016 Instagram.
Yeah. The little notification, like you made it onto popular page, is probably iconic.
Girl, if a time machine popped up from the ground right there, you better bet I am jumping in that and going right back.
Right.
Oh my God. The days were it was just an easier, simpler, better time back then. But that was when like it was easy for things to go viral and like take over the entire internet like that. So that it was really unexpected. Like I said, when my friend suggested it, I honestly was like, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful that she gave me that advice because it definitely worked and got me noticed.
Definitely. And I feel like one of the most impressive things that I find from beauty content in general and beauty gurus is it's like when you start out, you're not an expert, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sure you were good at it. But it's amazing, like what gave you the confidence?
Not at all, actually.
So what did your initial content look like?
So I started on Instagram first.
Okay.
And I had already been doing girls' makeup for prom and ball at my school beforehand. Looking back now, it wasn't bad by any means. But
and how did you get into
wasn't...
that? Like what made you, because like you're interested in all these different things, techie stuff, building stuff, Legos, like
So I was always a huge fan of watching YouTube, and I really enjoyed watching videos of like girls' hairstyles. I loved watching braids and just intricate like updos, and I just loved that you could like change someone's hair in like these fun, like sculptural, beautiful ways for events. I don't know why that was so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as a gay kid, is it really that surprising? But you know, I tried doing girls' hair just like on the bus or like during our middle school musical rehearsals. I would like just braid the girls' hair in front of me, and I was like, this is so fun. So I started doing girls' hair, and I was in the middle of an appointment once, and my high school friend at the time, her name was Callie Noonan, she booked me for her hair appointment, but she was supposed to go get her makeup done at MAC after I had finished, but she was running so behind. So she just asked if I would do it. And I was like, I mean, I had been watching makeup tutorials online from Michelle Phan and Nikki Tutorials and Jaclyn Hill were some of my biggest role models growing up. So I knew what I was doing, but I had never done it myself before. So I was like, listen, Diva, I'll try this out, but if you look ugly, it is not my problem. This is a do at your own risk type of situation. You're requesting this, I will do it. I will fulfill your requirements right now. But if this looks ugly, it's not my problem because you missed your appointment, not my fault. So I did it, and it looked good. Definitely, in terms of today's standards, I mean, nothing in comparison.
Well, glam back then was so different also, but I kind of love that
and
glam.
it turned out okay. And I was like, wait, I kind of ate that up. That was fun. And she felt so beautiful, and that to me was just the coolest feeling of like, okay, 30 minutes of playing around with these creams and powders put a smile on this beautiful girl's face and made her feel so confident for this really special night of hers. That's cool. That's cool. I want to do more of that. So that's how I got into practicing with, you know, with makeup as well as doing the hair on the girlies. And then it was Halloween when I did makeup on myself for the first time. I did a skeleton look on myself. It's still on my Instagram. And for some reason, that day is what really made me believe in beginner's luck, because the makeup looks that I did on myself after that, oh my God, they were disgusting. But for some reason, that skeleton was so good, even by today's standards. If I walked out of the house right now with that look on, I'd be like, yeah, great.
Right.
So weird. I do not know how I did that.
Well, you were always good at art, right?
But the looks after were bad. They were really, 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 really bad. So I just think it was a case of like, beginner's luck. This is a sign from the universe that this is what I'm meant to be doing. So I'm so glad that I didn't give up.
Right.
But that was what started it all.
Well, I feel like that's the most important thing with makeup and anything in the creative world. Like I grew up painting and oil painting, right? So like, it's like the first day you oil paint, it's going to look like shit. And then you practice and you learn kind of the processes and the techniques behind it, and you start figuring it out. And I feel like that is also makeup art, right?
I love that you have that mentality too, because that is really what we're trying to focus a lot on with Painted.
Yes.
I think it's really interesting. You know, when we first launched the brand, my kind of shtick with makeup has always been, I don't want to say educating, because truthfully, I'm not an educator. I'm not professionally trained. Whenever I've done tutorials, I'm certainly not sitting there and really going in depth and breaking down the steps, because that's not where my passion lies. It's kind of like, you guys can watch me do this, and if you want to follow along, great. If you're just watching for the entertainment value, that's cool too.
Right.
You know? So for me,
Well, I feel like sometimes you, like even in your videos, you'll be like, I'm not going to show you how I fill in my eyebrows because I've showed you it hundreds of times before.
Yeah, and it's truthfully like, you know, this might come across bad. We can edit it out if it does. But for me, like, I'm a visual learner.
Yeah.
So for me, when I'm watching a video and like somebody like does an eyeshadow look, my brain knows how to recreate that if I'm watching it happen. Some people's brains are just not wired that way. I am self-aware enough to realize that I do not have the patience or the like educator level of the educational way of explaining it to somebody. I just don't care enough.
Okay.
I'm like, here's how I did it. You can follow along, great. If this isn't for you, there are a million other educators out there that actually will take, 30 to 45 minutes to really slow down and teach somebody how to do it. That is just not my style.
Right.
I'm not a professional at it. I was never trained, and there are a million people that could do a far better job at that than I can, and I recognize that. So my specialty in content has always been like, sure, if you're learning from it, that's incredible. But for me, it's more about like having fun while doing it and really inspiring people to try. Because I think that's what's so hard with makeup, especially for some of my more intricate, artistic, complicated makeup looks. People see them and they're always blown away and like, oh my God, how did he do that?
Yeah.
You just have to try. And when you first try, it might be awful. It might be so ugly. It probably will. Mine were garbage when I first started. Absolute hideous. However, I would have never gotten to the level that I'm at today if I didn't just keep going. It's makeup, it's creams, it's powder. It washes off with, a nice, gorgeous oil cleanser or a makeup wipe, not sponsored. But
You're like, take it off and start over, baby.
You can try and try and try again.
Right.
It's never going to be perfect on the first try. It really does take practice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always kind of been my mantra, like all throughout YouTube. I'm not a professional educator, I was never professionally trained. I got to the level that I'm at by trying, by failing, by starting over, by attempting new techniques, by posting, by getting feedback, and by always trying to better myself and learn from people that inspire me.
Absolutely. And you touched on Painted in like the beginning, but what we were just talking about. So like, let's go back to Painted. Tell us a little bit, because I think it's so cool what you're doing. You aren't seeing other brands do what you're doing at all. Like, it's very unique and it's so true to you. So like, to everybody listening, explain to us what Painted is and what your goal is with the brand.
So with Painted, my goal is to provide pro artistry level products to everyday consumers for an affordable price.
Yeah.
So when you think back to like, were you ever like a MAC girly? Did you ever go shopping at MAC like for makeup when you were younger?
No.
Okay, that's fine. So MAC back in the day had a pro line where if you went into MAC, you could buy the lipsticks, you could buy the eyeliners, you could buy the foundations, but if you wanted to buy the paints, if you wanted to buy the sponges, if you wanted to buy the brushes, you had to have a cosmetology license and you had to basically go in and apply for a membership, and only then could you actually buy the pro products. It no longer exists anymore, and obviously I still love MAC, so I don't say this in a shady way, but I always found that concept as really stupid, because when I was getting into things, I was not a professional by any stretch of the means, but I wanted to be. I wanted to learn, and I wanted to use the same products that I was watching other people use in their videos.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to recreate that look, why would I want to go in and buy the Walmart version, for lack of a better term, or the cheaper version, the Temu version?
And
you know
let's
what I mean?
explain to people what you mean by that, because do you mean like you sell certain colors and then the pro artist will mix the colors together to get the shades that they want?
Not even that. Like MAC Pro, there were certain products that were only available to everyday consumers, and there were pro level products that were only available if you had the license and if you applied and got into this membership and were paying for it. So I hated that idea that like the best products were being kept behind closed doors and only exclusive people could have access to it. That to me was really stupid. So for me, my goal with Painted was to provide really high quality level, professional grade products to everybody.
Right.
But I wanted to educate people and show people how they can use them regardless of their skill level. So if you're a pro, if you're a working makeup artist, if you're a drag queen, if you're, if you're just a makeup lover who's been practicing for years and years and years, you can use the products and they're going to give you the exact performance level that you are expecting and you're used to in your career path. But if you're a beginner, you still have the good shit.
Right.
So if you don't know how to use it now, you can still practice, and when you are good, it'll still be there performing at the same level.
Can I tell you about something that this kind of reminds me of? So I just did an interview. With one of the heads of production for Makeup Forever.
Yeah.
And what I didn't know about their brand was that when they first started, it was started by Danny Sans in 1984.
Yeah.
So Danny Sans in 1984 started Makeup Forever. And the origin story happened, basically what it was she started out working on theater set design, and she was a painter on the theater sets. And then one day they had a performer, and the crew was like, do you mind painting the performer? And she loved it so much that she ended up creating a line that was all about like professional makeup. And Makeup Forever obviously has turned into a brand that's more about kind of everyday products. But it was so cool hearing their origin story. And literally I was walking around the office, the headquarters in New York the other day, and they were showing me, I guess they do a thing with students maybe once a year or whatever it is, where they all kind of do beautiful designs with makeup, kind of how some of your makeup art looks.
Yeah.
And I was walking around looking at the art that they had printed out of these students' designs. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what's so cool about Makeup Forever is I feel like they don't do that same level of artistry anymore, but you are. You're like bringing it back.
Okay, so what's so interesting too that you bring that up, and I've talked about this in our Painted initial launch video.
Yeah.
My first product with Painted are called Create Paints, and they're literally a makeup paint. So same thing that you were just talking about. The Makeup Forever Flash Palette is like a $200 10 color cream paint pan for makeup.
Wow.
And that product is what inspired me to create Paints.
I love that.
Because in a lot of my original makeup looks, I would be doing these crazy intricate artistic looks where I was painting my face, doing crazy designs, doing colors all over. But I hated, as great as that product was, it was really expensive, and they were also a cream formula that didn't dry down. So that was the inspiration behind our Create paints. Was I wanted a cream makeup paint that you could use all throughout your makeup routine, whether you are a pro artist or if you're a beginner, for a super affordable price.
Right.
When we launched those paints, people thought we were crazy. There were immediate press articles being like, this is a complete flop. Who cares about this? Like, no one's gonna buy paints. No one's wearing this thing. And I knew that. It was so annoying watching those articles come out, but I was fine with it because to me, I was well aware that that launch was never going to be a billion-dollar launch for the brand.
Right.
To me, it was about establishing the brand identity and what we stood for. How stupid would it have been if I'm like, hi, this brand is called Painted. It's all about artistry and being creative. And then my first launch was, you know, a 4-color brown eyeshadow palette.
Right.
No one would have cared.
No.
So to me, I was willing to take the risk and the hit on having that crazy global over-the-top launch for making sure that I was launching a product that was true to me
Yes.
as an artist and that would establish what the brand stands for. And sure, we didn't have a $10 trillion launch day, but we still sold out, and those paints ended up on Beyonce. Those paints ended up on Nicki Minaj. Those paints ended up on Cardi B. Those paints ended up on Becky G. Those paints have ended up on a million different incredible celebrities that I am so grateful that their makeup artists have trusted me and my formulation and my labs and my product design. But they've also ended up on girlies, guys, moms, dads, and everybody in between all across the world that have never tried makeup before. And that's what the whole point was, is that sure, the idea of a paint in your makeup routine might seem really crazy. I get it. I completely understand. But when you realize that you can use the brown as eyeliner, you can use the black in your waterline or smoke it out, you can use the red as a lipstick, you can use the pink as a blush. It's a multi-use product that doesn't necessarily need to be for crazy artistic makeup looks. And I think that was so cool to launch the brand in a different way that really set us up for long-term success in the future, and hopefully a platform to really bring back creativity and artistry to an industry that has kind of fallen off of it a little bit, at least in terms of like the generic social media culture beauty space.
Well, it's like you launched with a very niche thing, targeting a very specific audience, and now it's kind of, you get the opportunity to educate people on what we're doing right now. You know, why do these pro artists use this style of paint? Why is Beyonce wearing it on stage? How can you make it something that you use on a day-to-day basis? And, you know, you can always evolve and implement more products the way these other brands.
We already have, of course, but that's what I just thought it was really interesting that people were like, oh, he's like releasing this stupid product, it's going to be a flop. And I'm like, do you guys really think that there was no strategy behind this? Hello?
Well, because some of my favorite videos that you've done are ones where you show how talented you are at art and you do portraits and different things. And yeah, I just think it's so cool. So when you launched it, I was like, wow, this makes so much sense for him. And again, like you said, you're saying so true to yourself. So it really is amazing. Really quickly, I just want to back up and talk about like when you first moved to LA. You moved to LA so young to live on your own out here. What made you at the time want to move to LA? Was it that all the like beauty gurus at the time were living out here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my opportunity with CoverGirl had come before that.
Okay.
So I signed with CoverGirl when I was 17, but I was already coming out to LA so frequently to work with them for different photo shoots, for different events. At that point, I had around like 1 million followers at this time. So I was already traveling so often just to continue pursuing my career that it made the most amount of sense to me. You know, I got really, really, really lucky. I had incredible educators and teachers and a support system around me in my high school growing up. They were really, really understanding of what was happening. And, you know, I was really blessed because not every school is that way, but I think they really had the mentality of like, you know, our job as educators and as administrators are to make sure that our high school students have a path to success. So although I wasn't taking the traditional one, it was imminent that I was going to do something really special. So during my senior year, I had already started doing all these things. I was in school for 3 out of the first 10 weeks of the semester.
Wow.
So I took it upon myself to go into the guidance counselor and be like, hey, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I have to move. I want to get out of here. Help me graduate early. And thank God I had already been taking all AP and honors classes. So I almost had enough.
As expected.
I had almost enough credits to graduate twice.
Right.
I was missing you're going to love this. I was missing gym credits.
Perfect.
Stupid gym credits. So I had to,
Oh my God. So he was not running the high school mile.
I was, and I had a great time too, but I didn't have enough gym credits. So I had to write like a couple of like physical fitness essays about like the body, whatever I was doing. But
wait, that's so cool though. So you graduated early. What were your parents?
I graduated early.
Like, I know I saw a video of yours that you posted showing the setup that your dad created for you at your childhood home.
Yes.
I actually, when you posted that video, I commented on it and you liked my comment. So that was our first little like social media interaction.
That's so fun.
Yes, and I loved that so much because it was so cool to see how much your parents supported your goals, especially when YouTube at the time was so fresh and so new.
Yeah.
And,
truthfully, it wasn't always that way.
Okay.
And they were never against it, but they were definitely really hesitant.
Yeah.
As any parent should be, right? Like your kid coming home being like, hey, I'm gonna be famous online. Whoa, no. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So they were definitely really hesitant to be like, what's going on here? Where is this money coming from? Who are we working with? They were definitely very protective in that sense. And it was also really hard too because I did have really good grades. So my parents were like, you're going to college. We have these offers from these various schools. We have scholarships on the table. You're not going to abandon that. And you think you're going to be an influencer in LA? Haha.
Yeah.
And little do they know, I'm like, sorry, Diva, it's already happening.
Well, because at the time, it's like your parents are used to LA and Hollywood and actors. It's like, it's amazing how much the beauty industry, I mean, it's amazing how it's always been a huge space to, you know, do really well.
I got
but now.
really lucky.
Yeah.
I had, I had a lot of friends already in LA that I was meeting from different events and from different just trips and stuff. And they were able to meet them and know that I had a good support system here built around me already. So it's not like I was truly moving here alone. I lived with one of my best friend's family for like 6 or 7 months on and off over in Whittier, maybe like an hour away from here. And, her mom put her name on my lease when I moved to LA for the first time because I couldn't sign a lease myself because I was 17.
Right.
So I was really lucky that I had great people around me to help me and take care of me when I was, just a kid being here. So that was really incredible. And my parents had already met them from the different trips. So they knew that I wasn't necessarily alone, but I think as any parent should be, they were just worried that I was, going to make the right decisions, that I would come here and, wouldn't get overwhelmed with partying or drugs or drinking or just the LA scene in general. But, I think I had really worked super hard to prove to them that I had a good head on my shoulders and that I really wanted this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wasn't going to let it, slip away.
Absolutely. And it was cool that there were other examples in the space of people already living out here. Like you were truly part of such an iconic, I'm going to call it such an iconic class of beauty gurus, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think were like the pros and cons of being part of this amazing group of people?
I don't know.
I used to love watching like all of you guys, you know?
I think, there was definitely a golden age of like the beauty community on YouTube. And I think it really did provide such a crazy source of entertainment for people for a very long time.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think it also got really toxic really quickly just because there was so much money, so many views, and just so many different players involved in the space. I think that, it's really interesting. One thing that I've always like paid attention to over the years is, it's very natural that people become friends and maybe go their separate ways or people grow apart. And I think that, when the audience is watching, it makes growing or being an adult really difficult because people are paying attention too closely to things like that. And I think with being an influencer, really a lot of times the only things we have in common is making content online.
Yeah.
So I think there was just a lot of really crazy, fun, entertaining personalities that worked for a second and maybe didn't work at another certain point, and that's fine.
Absolutely.
But I think it was really cool to grow up in that era and be a part of something that really was so impactful to so many people.
Absolutely.
And as much, drama or crazy things online that may have happened, there are some really great people out there that are still making great content. Nikki Tutorials is one of my absolute favorite people in the entire world. She was always so sweet and so helpful to me growing up. Same thing with Jaclyn Hill. Jaclyn was one of my biggest role models, and I got to meet her when I was 17 years old. She was so kind to me when she didn't have to be, and she was so just willing to offer advice, to help, just to be a friend. And there were a lot of people like that as well. So I will forever be grateful for those times and how they shaped me to be the guru that I am today.
Absolutely. I mean, it's such that was such a well-worded answer. What I love about James is his answers, like, your answers answer my follow-up questions, which is perfect.
Love.
As we wrap it up, I heard you we talked about escape rooms in the beginning of this interview. And I heard you once in an interview say your career is like an escape room where you're always trying to get out and get to the next level.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what is the level that you feel like you're currently in and where are we trying to go?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Also, that was an iconic quote. I was like, look at him using these analogies.
Love.
Yeah.
I think for me, the last couple of years have really been about I would say reinventing myself. I've been doing this for a very long time now. And I think that through making especially long form content for so long, I think that people really had a super solidified idea of who I was as a human being from my content. And it was really funny, growing up, my friends would always say gosh, James, I wish you would just be more yourself in your videos. People would just love it. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Because I never felt like I was playing a character.
No.
Of course, as soon as the camera turns on, we all have a more energetic personality. Yeah. Of course, I was focused on, making sure I had a future for myself and my family. So I was watching what I was saying. I was making sure that I was being brand and family friendly to make the most amount of ad revenue. I'm not ashamed to say that. But for the most part, I always felt like I was being myself. But my friends would always be like, no, girl, this is not you. When you truly figure out how to be yourself, that's when you'll be unstoppable. And I never really got it until quite honestly, the last maybe 2 years. Just from being on TikTok and from starting my spam account and just posting random rants and tangents and going on live streams and sometimes saying some things that are a little too unhinged. My manager's calling me being like, get off, what are you doing? But, people responded so well to seeing what I'm really behind the scenes. I think that, I've also gone through plenty of ups and downs. I will never, hide away from that. But in those situations, I've always tried to use embarrassing or bad moments to truthfully learn and grow and try to become a better, smarter, stronger person. That's how I've always looked at everything. So to me, after doing this for so long, I now have the mentality of I'm just going to have fun. I have seen that a career or social media clout or relevancy can truly go away in a matter of a couple of hours and can come back later on as well. So I used to really focus every single day on, what am I doing today? How can I do this? How can I do this? How can I gain more followers? How can I get more views? This. And of course, I still do have that mentality. That's part of running a business. But I think now more than ever, I'm just really trying to have fun and make things that I'm proud of. And I think that the audience will always find its way if they're interested in watching what you're putting out there.
I love that. It's so important too. I think with content, it can be so stressful and sometimes the fun can get sucked out of it.
Yes.
And I feel like the best videos and the most organic videos come from just having fun with it.
Yeah.
So I love that so much. You are amazing.
Thank you.
James is the best person on and off camera. When I showed up here, I swear to God, you were your aura was just so kind and sweet. So
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for welcoming my team into your home.
So nice to have you guys. Yeah. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast.
I love you. Maybe next time I'll get you to go for a run.
You won't. But you're welcome to invite me.
Okay, that's a wrap. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time on Post Run High. Make sure you subscribe.
Thumbs up, click the bell icon.